Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Actually It's a Mirror, where I talk news, celebrity, gossip, hot topics, these YouTube streets. If you want to know about it, I'm going to talk about it. And today's topic of focus is, of course, the Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, Kylie Jenner and Khloe Kardashian trial against Black Chyna. If you aren't living under a rock, then you know that Black Chyna is suing the Kardashians for upwards of $100 million for damages she suffered as a result of the cancellation of her show, Rob and Chyna. She's going after emotional distress, lost wages, breach of contract, you name it, she is after it. And I'm here to keep you guys updated on my opinion and perspective on the court case as it unfolds. I'm going to be giving you a play by play with perspective from my opinion. And of course, everything I say here is allegedly because why? I do not know these people. It is simply my opinion. And if you're here, it's because you like to do investigations, right? You like to know what's going on behind the scenes, come up with theories, and you want to hear people who might share a similar frame of mind. So if you're new to my channel, please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please go ahead and like this live if you are stopping in or just breezing through the bushes. A like doesn't cost anything and it helps YouTube to push this through the algorithm. So news sources are reporting that the trial is far underway. And in fact, Black Chyna has already been put on the stand to testify about her account with Robert Kardashian Jr. So apparently there was a time during taping of the show where Chyna and Rob were living together and they got into an argument. Apparently, Rob Kardashian had a history of taking Black Chyna's personal belongings, going through her personal messages, reading through her most intimate secrets, and then locking himself in a closet in order to do so. He, I guess, due to his insecurity, suffered from jealous rages and outbursts. And based on what was happening with the testimony, it's giving me very much so emotional abuse on behalf of Rob Kardashian. Like, I know that people see their phones as an extension of themselves, especially if you are a social media influencer, which I'm sure Chyna is. She has personal information, she has contracts, she has private email exchanges between her and her manager that honestly is not Rob Kardashian's business. So taking her personal property actually is like taking her business. And I wonder if her lawyer, Linciani, is planning to make that argument, because if I was her attorney, I would say that Chyna's cell phone is akin to someone taking your business from you, like literally walking into your establishment and holding you hostage. It's almost like a strong arm robbery. Good morning, Miss Lady Diva. Yes, it's, to me, it comes across as strong arm robbery. Now I know people might be saying, "Oh, you're being really aggressive with that comment because you know that's not robbery." Good morning, Lady Letitia. You might be saying you're being aggressive with that comment. That's not robbery. That was her fiance. But you have to understand, if Black Chyna relies on her cell phone, her social media presence as her primary and almost only way to make income, then someone taking your business personal property, right? Because her cell phone is her business personal property. It's probably insured with business insurance, right? That's her business personal property. If she then picked up a gun in order to intimidate him, as long as she legally owned that weapon in the comfort of her own home and it was not a physical criminal crime, technically that's her standing her ground. That's her defending her property. Now, I'm not sure if California stand your ground laws, but if you ask me, if you come into my business, which is her cell phone, and you take it and you try to stick me up and lock yourself in the closet with my only way to make money, he could have been deleting text messages. He could have been deleting contracts. He could have wrote unscrupulous emails to the people on the other end of those messages that could have really destroyed her image, her brand, and her likeness. And if I was Chyna's attorney, I would make the argument that Robert Kardashian posed a provable threat to Blac Chyna's image, and she can use Exhibit A, the Revenge PORN that he posted on her on Instagram. That shows character. So if I was Linciani, my next argument when I cross-examine Chyna would be to prove that Rob Kardashian had a history of taking her personal business property and doing unscrupulous things. That again talks to mindset of Blac Chyna. as to why she got aggressive with him and jokingly pulled a gun and jokingly grabbed a cell phone cord. Because as I said before in my previous video, they are going to be trying to prove that they had a strong basis that Blac Chyna posed a clear and imminent threat to Rob Kardashian, which is why they had to get that show canceled. If they can prove that Chyna did do that, then they can say, listen, this had nothing to do with us just not liking her. This was absolutely in an attempt to protect our son, our brother, and our son's safety. However, Linciani has got to prove that Chyna only acted in that manner because she was in a constant state of triggering hostility and violence by Rob Kardashian. She has to prove that. But on the contrary, think about it. If Linciani is successful in proving that Blac Chyna did not have a dangerous state of mind and that her and Rob Kardashian often played violently together, then she leaves it up for room for interpretation for the jury to say, do we think that that relationship was safe for both parties involved, given how quickly things would escalate between them? And that can cause a problem for Blac Chyna. What she needs to do is stick to the facts. Stick to the facts. She needs to say that she almost has to prove that those were isolated incidents that had no bearing on the success or outcome of that show. She almost has to prove that that level of drama between her and Rob Kardashian actually benefited the show's ratings and audience retention. So if I was Linciani, I would be going into my Twitter feed. I would be looking at the analytics, finding hashtag Rob and Chyna, and showing that the viewers actually thought that this sort of play was entertaining and that Chyna was only acting in that manner because she thought it was good for ratings and good for taping of the show. And that will then be more convincing, because if you're anybody who watches reality TV and someone says, oh, this is all for the show, it's all just to get good footage, it's like a behind the scenes kind of thing because I know that this house is under surveillance, it's not hard for me to believe that. They do that on Bad Girls Club all the time. Like, the show is actually built on making women fight each other and act out and act crazy. So is that hard to believe? Absolutely not. So I think that Chyna had a little bit of a struggle on the stand today, because when you're talking about joking and pulling a weapon, that gets a little bit dicey. Linciani has got to make a definite comeback. But can we also talk about Kris Jenner and her egregious comments about Blac Chyna being quote unquote ghetto and stupid? Well, that doesn't speak well for you, Kris Jenner, considering the fact that calling a Black woman who lives in Hollywood Hills ghetto doesn't really sound well. It sounds, and I think she said, and I quote, we need to ditch the bitch. Like, we need to ditch her. And Kris Jenner, you like to flaunt your influence and power over the E! Network. You like to show who you are and make sure everyone knows that you are a force to be reckoned with. So you just simply texting the words, we need to quote, ditch the bitch. It's pretty damaging to you, Kris Jenner. It's pretty damaging because you have the influence to, in fact, ditch the bitch. You have the points, you have the credibility, you have the negotiation skills. So that same power in which you built your empire, that book you wrote, Momager, that power in which you bestowed upon yourself becomes a force to be reckoned with when you're sending text messages saying, and I quote, ditch the bitch. I don't know if that was the right move for Kris Jenner, and it's definitely is a major strike against her. In fact, calling Blac Chyna ghetto, I wonder what the jury box looks like. I wonder if it's a mixed bag of jurors in terms of race, ethnicity, age, class. I mean, some people might say, oh, you know, someone calling you ghetto is not a big deal. Like, oh, well, it's just not that big of a deal. But to other people, they could see that as like a trigger. Like, wait a second, you have preconceived biases about this woman based on her socioeconomic status before she arrived. Like, Blac Chyna at the time had the means and the income to certainly not be considered ghetto, despite the fact that she was a little rambunctious. You don't have to call her ghetto. She doesn't live in the ghetto. She's not living in a high-rise apartment in the projects. Like, she lives in the freaking Hollywood Hills or Malibu or something. You got to be careful what you write in messages. If I was Kris Jenner, you have to be careful. But if you guys haven't heard, good morning, Lit Liquor. If you guys haven't heard the article, I'm going to read a snippet of it from BuzzFeed, so we're kind of on the same page. So let's get into it. It says Rob was playing video games and she wanted to, and I quote, get his attention. Sometime later, Rob was in the bedroom FaceTiming with friends when Chyna says she came into the room and picked up an unloaded gun from the nightstand and raised it in the air by Rob. And then she says, Chyna, I was being funny. Like, if he ever leaves me, I'll get him, Chyna said, adding that again, she was just joking. She added that she would never shoot Rob or anyone for that matter, and that she didn't say anything, and that he didn't say anything about her holding the gun or indicate, in fact, that he was fearful. Chyna then it goes on to say Chyna sued the entire Kardashian Jenner clan in 2017 for defaming her character and wrongfully interfering with the filming of the second season of Rob and Chyna. So Chyna does go on stand and actually admit to picking up an unloaded weapon and raising it in the air to Rob as an attempt to threaten or intimidate him. But if they often played like that, I think Chyna's unfortunately going to have to throw Rob under the bus and say that he had a history of doing some pretty damaging things to her, and she had to let him know that while you act crazy all the time toward me, I'm not above defending myself if it got to that point, and that she actually wasn't going to do it. Good morning, Ebony. How are you? I'm not sure what kind of criminal history Black Chyna has, but I imagine the lawyers have already dug into her criminal past to see if she had any assault charges, not related to Rob, but just from like when she was younger, assault, battery, or anything like that. And I'm sure, good morning, Patricia, and I'm sure her lawyer, Linciani, already briefed her on that. If I was Chyna, I would probably start to limit some of the details that I'm giving. I would kind of say this is how, like, instead of saying like it was a joke, I would say, oh, Rob and I often joke that way. And then they're probably going to say, well, has he ever pulled a gun on you? And then she has to then testify and say what other activities he's done to make her feel like that was the kind of way that they played and that no one felt that they were ultimately in danger. Chyna is suing Rob for battery and defamation of character. Do I think she has a strong case? I do think me personally, I do believe that the Kardashians conspired to cancel her hit show, Rob and Chyna. And the reason why I say that is because the data points just don't make sense to me. Their show was bringing in an average of 2.7 million viewers every single Sunday. It was the #1 trending show on Twitter. They had bumped the Kardashians, I believe, to a Thursday slot at that time. So they kind of lost their Sunday foothold, which they held for season after season after season. And Rob and Chyna kind of took their spot. So I believe she has a very strong case because at the end of the day, this business is a money-making business. If a little bit of violence between parties is not enough to cancel the show. Look at Bad Girls Club. Look at the Zeus Network. Look at Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Look at every other TV show in which a couple is involved on the television. I can barely think of one where there isn't some sort of argument or fight at some point throughout the season. And that's even with the most vanilla couple, right? There's going to be arguments and fights. So it's hard. If I'm in the jury box, you trying to tell me you canceled the show because of arguments and fights when the whole success of the show was built on arguments, fights, and drama. That's literally what E saw as the value in the show. If you look at all of the promo for Rob and Chyna, it's E showing Chyna screaming out the window, throwing the phone across the room. Like E wanted that. They wanted that smoke for the show. That's what they wanted. She gave them exactly what they was asking for. And then they want to penalize her for it. I don't believe so. I believe that her show was canceled. And if I was Linciani, that's the argument I would make. Like if I'm Linciani, I'm like, wait a second. So I would literally get whoever from E on the stand, and I would say, did you have concerns about the fighting and drama between Rob and Chyna during the filming of this season? And I dare them to say yes. I dare them to say yes. Because if they say yes, we did have concerns, I would say, well, let's roll the B-roll. Let's roll the footage because it sounds like this is exactly what you were trying to market to 2.7 million people. You were absolutely trying to market a very bad girl-esque style show to the people. Look at the B-roll for every episode. It's screaming, yelling, fighting, and drama. So don't say that that's not what you wanted from her if that's what she was given and that's what was selling. So now it doesn't make sense. If I'm in the jury box, you got to give me a stronger argument. You have to give me a strong argument. You would literally have to show me, footage of Chyna and Rob physically fighting, Chyna beating the crap out of him beating the crap out of her. Somebody ended up in the hospital, open police reports. Like, I'm gonna need some strong, hard evidence to say, yeah, while it was non-violent, we supported it, while it was just flair for TV, but once it actually got real and physical, we pulled the plug. Like, that's honestly the crux of the case. But you can't sell me on just a basic, oh yeah, they was arguing and fighting. Even her picking up an unloaded weapon, at the end of the day, it wasn't any bullets in the gun. At the end of the day, did she own a weapon legally? That would be my question. At the end of the day, did Rob feel threatened for his life? And if he did, well, what action did he take to prove that he was threatened for his life? Because if I'm the lawyer and Rob gets up there and say, yeah, I felt threatened and intimidated when she pulled the gun, my next question is, well, did you call the cops? Well, where did you sleep that night? Did you go for a walk? Did you leave the house? Did you get off your FaceTime phone call? What'd you do? What steps did you take? And if he cannot demonstrate fear throughout the actions that he took in that moment and after, did you return back to the home? Did you sign the contract to film for season 2? If all of those answers are yes, then you're screwed. Your whole argument is null and void. And now I'm in the jury box to believe that maybe this is how they play. Maybe this was just good TV. Right. And that has favor for Chyna. But I do think she has a very strong case. I think the fact that that Linciani is taking it to trial, probably on a retainer with a promise to get paid after this case closes at some exorbitant amount. There's no way they would exhaust the level of discovery, research, and preparation by a major law firm for if they thought they had no case. They absolutely have a case. And quite honestly, I think the Kardashians is okay with taking it to trial, because sometimes people want to go to trial not because they intend to fight it to the end. They want to go to trial to see what evidence you have against them so they can decide how much they should settle with you for out of court and how much your damages can potentially be. Because before you go to trial, you're actually just flying blind. You're flying with limited information, just hitting the bullet points on what you believe that the case is against the company, but you don't know what kind of smoking gun the defendant has up their sleeve, or the prosecution. You don't know their smoking gun. You don't know what's their ace in the hole. You're actually just guessing, right? You're guessing. You're like, well, what did you say? Do you remember every text you sent? But imagine how many phone calls and text messages Kris Jenner had and sends over the course of the last 5 years when this case first started. She can't possibly remember everything she said about everybody. And when you have that level of doubt and you don't know what Blac Chyna got against you, you go to court to figure out how strong the case is. You figure out how much of a check you might have to cut. So I do think that this may still settle out of court. I think they may, after a lot of the cases talked about, Chyna will realize how strong her case is. They'll realize how strong their case is, and they may come to a mutually agreeable amount in order to just end it early before things get too ugly. But nothing that I'm not expecting to happen. You know, they need to get Kris on that stand. I'm trying to see what Kris working with. Is she going to perjure herself? Is she going to admit to the fact, what did you intend to mean when you said, let's ditch the bitch? What did you mean? What did you mean? Because that could take on multiple interpretations, right? Let's ditch the bitch. Was that a threat to harm and or kill her? You trying to throw her in the ditch? Like, was that intent to ruin her show and destroy her contract? And then how long after she sent that text message did E! Network take action? Was it a week later, a month later? If they took action within 30 days after Kris sent that text message, that's a horrible strike against Kris and the Kardashians in terms of getting her show canceled. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Because they did in fact ditch her. Like, it actually came to fruition. Not a good move and not a good look. Not a good look. I think Kris Jenner has to be very careful, because if you think people aren't screen recording and phone recording and saving things that you say to them in an attempt that they ever need to jump on you, you are sourly mistaken. And she should know better, as somebody who's been in the business for, 15 plus years. She should know better. She should know that if you ever want to get somebody going, don't put it in writing. Like, that's actually, no, there should be no traceable evidence of you trying to sabotage anyone's career. All those conversations need to happen face to face with no cell phones present. Leave your phone in the other room and then follow me to another room to have this conversation, because we don't need no record of it. No cameras, none of that. Come on now. You don't think that if I was Linciani, the first thing I'm asking for is I want to see the video footage. I don't know if I'm sure E News has video, cameras throughout the establishment. Well, I want to see the archived footage of when Black Chyna was airing. Like, did Kris come to the E News office? How many private conversations did you guys have? How often would you guys discuss the Rob and Chyna show? What were some of the talking points? Can we see notes from those meetings? Like, I would have, I mean, if I was her lawyer, man, listen, I would be looking for every single loophole that I could find to rack up the damages for my client. I would be like, I want to talk to everybody. I want to talk to the person who does the filming. I want to talk to the person who cleans. I want to talk to everybody who could have been privy to any information regarding the status of this show. How did you guys communicate that her show was canceled? What were the talking points of that conversation? Period. Because now you got to account for and explain yourself. You have to. And so, yeah, I think she has a major case. And I think I'm very interested in seeing how it plays out for day 2. And then we'll talk about what I think the next developments are. But anyway, thank you guys for stopping into my live. As always, please remember to like this live on the way out or drop a comment down below to help me out in the algorithm. And as this case develops more, you will certainly be hearing from me. I have it set up to get my information as soon as it comes in. And if I'm available, I will jump on live or make a quick video so that I keep you guys informed with what my perspective. Thank you guys, as always, for checking in. This is actually, it's Amira, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great day.